In this video, we're going to be covering colonial society. We're going to be talking about gender, race in particular, and also class. First, let's talk about race relations, and we'll talk about the difference between race and ethnicity. Now, the concept of race is based on your biology, all right? So, basically, your racial category, which is actually a social construct, is based on the idea that you share certain biological traits with other people, and those people will be categorized into a certain racial category. So, when I say biology, I'm talking about your phenotypical traits. We could be talking about your skin color, other physical traits and attributes, and those could be put together to create this idea of a race. Now, race is actually a construct, like I said, meaning it's made up. There is no actual basis for the idea of race, but it is a construct, meaning people have created this idea of race, and the idea of race is based on your biology. Okay, so I just want to make that clear that race actually isn't real, right? There really is no such thing as race, but this construct that we know of as race is based on biology. Okay, so your biological traits, like your skin color or other physical traits. So that's race, okay? Now the concept of ethnicity is different. Ethnicity is more related to your culture or cultural attributes instead of physical attributes or biological basis. Okay, so basically your ethnicity is based on your culture. You may share certain cultural traits with other individuals, and that will put you together into their ethnic category. Okay, so for example, what are these cultural traits that you may share? Well, perhaps you have the same language, you share the same language, or maybe you share the same religion, or the same cultural beliefs, traditions, customs. Maybe you occupy the same region as certain individuals for generations upon generations. All of these different aspects could tie people together as part of their culture, and this would create over time an ethnic group. Okay, so ethnicity is more based on your cultural ties or cultural similarities with other people, while the construct of race is more related to biological traits that you may share with other individuals. Now, in Spain in the 16th century, in the 1500s, you start to see a concept known as purity of blood, or limpieza de sangre. And basically, purity of blood at this time in the 16th century is referring to your religion or your religious background. So basically, the Spanish believed that your religion or your morality would be infused into your blood and would remain so for generations. Okay, so if you came from a Jewish background or a Muslim background, your blood would be seen as less pure than those who come from a Christian background. And this goes back to the conflict that existed during the time period where Ferdinand and Isabella were trying to create a Christian kingdom in Spain. Okay, they wanted to root out all influences from Judaism and Islam, and they wanted to create a Christian kingdom. Okay, and so you start to have a lot of converts, Jewish converts, conversos, and Muslim converts, Moriscos, who would convert to Christianity, right? Some would just leave, like many just went into exile and left Spain because they didn't want to convert, but many would stay and convert. So you start to get this difference, this binary between old Christians, individuals who would had been Christian for several generations, and new Christians, individuals who had just converted, or maybe their parents had converted and they've only been Christian for one generation or two generations. Okay, so individuals who had just converted, or individuals who were not Christian at all, were considered to be impure of blood. But if you come from an old Christian family who had been Christian for several generations, then you could be considered pure of blood. Okay, so this concept, this purity of blood concept, has this religious emphasis during the 16th century. Now there are ties to race as well, because remember, the Moors who had ruled the Iberian Peninsula for 700 years were from North Africa. Okay, and so they were a dark-skinned people from North Africa, and so that aspect, that biological trait of dark skin, will also be related to Islam, right? And so that will also be connected to this concept of impurity of blood. So if you are Muslim, you will be considered impure of blood, and if you're of dark skin, of African heritage, you may also be connected with that concept of impurity of blood because of the connection to Islam. All right. Now later on, the concept of purity of blood, or limpieza de sangre, would change, and it would have more of a racial emphasis. Okay, so the religious aspect would still be there, but it would take more of a back seat to the racial emphasis. So basically, your impurity would be based on your physical traits or your biology. Okay, this is later on as we're getting into the 17th and 18th centuries, especially in New Spain, where you have a lot of racial mixing or mestizaje going on. And so with all that racial mixing, then you'll have individuals of mixed race being considered impure of blood. And so it's more based on their race than on their religion. But the religious background, that religious emphasis is always there, and it was strongly emphasized, especially during the 16th century, when you have conflict between Christians and Muslims and even Jews in Spain and the Iberian Peninsula.